Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the new RunCam Eagle 2, and they made a few changes from the original Eagle. Most notably, I think the biggest change is the fact that they got rid of that wonky OSD connector on the old Eagle, and they went back to the 2-pin connector that they use on the Swift and all the other RunCam cameras, and I think that's a good thing. And here's the you can see here, they went back to the old style OSD cable instead of the one on the old Eagle here with, I think it's 6 pins. Yeah, you got 6 pins here. So, and that cable was kind of a hassle to get in and out of the quad to make config changes. This will be a lot more easier. Additionally, they are giving you the pigtail as well, so just like the Swift and the Swift 2, so it's all good. Also notably, they've increased the voltage range as they've done on the other cameras. They've gone from 5 to 17 volts on the old Eagle to 5 to 36 volts. And the lens is also different. So you can see here from the above view, the lens is a lot longer on the old Eagle versus the new one. And you can see it's a curved lens on the new Eagle 2. So they've improved that. I think the sensor is the same. It's the same CMOS 800 TV line sensor, but we'll go ahead and compare specs here in a second. They've also altered the mounting. They've gone to the style where they got an extra bracket here versus the old Eagle. They still do give you the option of the flat back here, and you can replace that if you don't want this extra bracket. And with this new mounting style, they've given you an improved mounting bracket. This looks a lot sturdier than the old one. And here's a look at the specs of the Eagle 2 next to the Eagle. Same CMOS sensor, 800 TV lines. There's a different lens on the new one, of course. NTSC PAL switchable via the OSD. Everything here looks about the same. The minimum illumination is much lower. It's 0.0001 lux, so it might be pretty good for night vision, so we'll have to test some low light and also night flying with this. Of course, the voltage range is increased and the weight's increased a little bit. They've gone from a magnesium alloy to an aluminum alloy housing, so those are the differences between the two. Okay, so I'm going to go to the OSD and we're going to take a look at the settings. I've already gone in there and made some alterations. I'm going to put the lens cap on so we can actually see the menu. And I believe all the menu selections here are the same as on the original Eagle. Mainly I changed image enhance here, and mainly sharpness and saturation. All that was auto, and that's how it came with on the original Eagle, and I didn't like those settings. That was too sharp and just too much saturation. So these are the values I'm using. It goes from 0 to 15 or 1 to 15, so I'm going with 4 on the detail and the edge. And on saturation, I have it set to 11. I think it goes pretty high. I forget what the max is. Yeah, it's 15 again, so I have it set to 11, although I think I may go lower, but this is the image that I came up with. I was sort of fiddling around on the bench. I think on the original Eagle that value was lower, like I think it was around 8, so it's a little bit different on this one. I think the firmware or the algorithm is a little bit different. And then I think this one here, max gain, is a new setting. I think it was set at auto before. Yeah, I think before it was set to 9, so I actually lowered it so it's set to 5 now. You can tell that when you increase the gain, the image gets kind of blown out there. So I set that to 5. I leave wide dynamic range on, and then I think the brightness I increased from a 40 to a 56. It goes to like 220. So I wanted the image a little bit brighter. It just seemed a little dark to me. So these are the settings I'm going to go with on my demo flight. And then I'm just going to go ahead and save. So here's a little look at the bench here, and it still has that sort of pink tone. I'm not sure why they didn't get rid of that from the old Eagle. Maybe it's just my eyes and the way I see it. Some people say that it's not there, but I tend to see a pink hue in the image on the Eagles. So it doesn't really bother me to get used to after a while, but yeah, it's just something that I've noticed. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and run a latency test, because I've heard that the latency on the Eagle 2 versus the old Eagle is lower. So we'll run a little latency test here, and then we'll do a demo flight. Okay guys, so instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to go with Oscar Lang's latency test. He had already done this, and he had an average of 24.6, a minimum of 15.2, and a max of 33.8 milliseconds on the latency for the Eagle. You can go to the link at the top of the screen here, and that'll show you details of how he ran his test. So this first clip is just going to be a daytime flight. I'll have a nighttime clip or an evening clip a little bit later. I found that the image quality of the Eagle 2 is slightly improved over the original Eagle. It's very subtle. I think it has to do with more shadow details and just better color reproduction. It just looked a little bit better to me. As for the latency of the original Eagle never bothered me, and I couldn't tell if there was any or not. So obviously the Eagle 2 is a little bit better. I think it's like 25 versus 35. And of course in this case I can't tell again if there's any latency, so in terms of any type of latency, it didn't bother me whatsoever. Now I did record this on my Yashin VR-D2 Pro DVR, and it's recorded in 720p. For whatever reason, the Fat Shark DVR totally butchers recordings from the Eagle and the Eagle 2. Out of the VR-D2 Pro DVR, it actually looks pretty decent. However, even with this DVR recording, it just doesn't do the image quality justice, in my opinion. The view that you get in the goggles is really nice. I feel like it's like almost watching HD video. It's not quite a high resolution, but the colors pop out. You get more shadow detail, and it just feels like a better overall image, in my opinion, for at least for FPV flying. Obviously, you know, people that like the CCD cameras like the Swift and the HS1177, they're going to disagree, and they're going to you know, claim that the latency is still going to be an issue. But as I mentioned before, it wasn't a problem for me, and I prefer this image quality over that of the Swift and the HS1177. So here we have a clip in the evening, about 30 minutes after sunset, and it's actually surprisingly much darker than this and than what's actually shown here in the video. It feels like there's much more light than was actually the case, which I think goes to the low light illumination capabilities of the Eagle 2 over the original Eagle. As you mentioned earlier in the specs, the lux was very low. It's almost, I think, in the range of the Owl or the Owl 2, perhaps. I'll have to double check that, but I think that based on the lighting of the image here, I could probably even fly even later after the sun goes down. So maybe when it was completely dark and pitch black, you can see all the lights in the parking lot are on there, and you know, it just feels like, you know, we get a color image here with very little light, and I think that's a really good thing about this camera. So in some sense, you could probably use this to replace your HS1177 and your RunCam Owl if you want to just have one camera for both daytime and nighttime. I think the image quality here for both daytime and nighttime is actually really good.